The planet Viridia glowed under twin suns, its forests shimmering with colors no human eye had ever seen before. The trees had translucent leaves that lit up like lanterns in the night, and rivers ran with water that sparkled with a faint golden hue. In the heart of this alien paradise floated the Viridian Palace, a magnificent city suspended above the ground by strange anti-gravity technology. Towers twisted toward the sky, and bridges glimmered like threads of light. Inside the grand palace, Princess Leora walked through halls lined with alien tapestries, each depicting the history of her people. She moved with grace, her long blue hair flowing behind her, and her eyes, golden and deep, surveyed everything around her with intelligence and curiosity. Today was a special day. Today she would marry a human. Humans were rare in the galaxy. Most civilizations considered them fragile, unremarkable, or even weak. But Leora had met Captain Alex Mercer, a human who had come to Viridia as part of a diplomatic mission. He was unlike anything she or her people had ever seen. Calm, polite, and unassuming, Alex seemed almost ordinary, but there was something in his quiet confidence, something in the way he observed the world, that drew Leora to him. "Princess," said her assistant, a Viridian named Thalor, his 6 eyes blinking in nervous excitement. "The guests are arriving. Everything is prepared for the ceremony?" Leora nodded. "Good, I want everything perfect. Today is not just about me. It is about our people and about showing them that humans can be trusted." Thalor hesitated. "They still doubt him, Your Highness, even after all he has done." Leora smiled faintly. "Let them doubt. Humans are harmless in appearance. That is why they are underestimated. Alex is more than he seems, but I do not need the court to know that yet." Meanwhile, in a separate wing of the palace, Alex Mercer was adjusting his simple black suit. To the Viridian eye, it looked modest and plain, but Alex didn't care. He had always preferred simplicity over show. He walked calmly to the balcony, looking out at the glowing forests below. His mind was alert, taking in the strange world. Its architecture, its energy flows, and the subtle signs of tension among the palace guards and diplomats. Alex had learned long ago that appearances often hid truth. The Viridians might think humans weak, but humans had survived worse than alien politics. And humans had a skill the galaxy often overlooked: adaptability. The ceremony began in the palace's central hall. Beams of soft light floated around the room, illuminating guests from dozens of alien species. Leora entered, her golden eyes scanning the room. Her heart raced, not with fear but with anticipation. Alex stood at the front waiting, his posture relaxed. He smiled warmly as Leora approached. The Viridian court murmured. "A human," they whispered. "So fragile." Yet the princess smiles. Leora reached Alex, and the officiant, an elder Viridian named Sirac, began the formal vows. The words sounded strange to Alex at first, with their melodic cadence and complex structure. But he listened carefully, repeating them when required. His voice was steady, calm, and precise. When the ceremony concluded, the crowd erupted in polite applause. Leora took Alex's hand and led him to the balcony overlooking the gardens. She wanted a moment away from the formalities, a moment alone with her new husband. "You handled yourself well," she said softly. The court seemed surprised that a human could follow the ceremony so easily. Alex chuckled. "I've had some training, but mostly I just listen and learn. That seems to work better than trying to show off." Leora studied him. "You truly are calm. Almost too calm. It makes me wonder what else you are hiding." Alex shrugged lightly. "Perhaps there are surprises yet, but I promise nothing will harm you or your people." Leora smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. She believed him. For now he seemed harmless, just a kind, clever human. That was enough. The palace gardens were alive with music and laughter. Strange creatures floated through the air, carrying lights and decorations, while servants, some alien, some human, moved gracefully among the guests, ensuring everything was perfect. Alex walked beside Leora, greeting dignitaries, shaking hands, and nodding respectfully. His human gestures were simple, yet somehow commanding attention. The aliens noticed, but they did not yet understand why. As the evening progressed, a sudden commotion drew everyone's attention. A group of court officials rushed past, shouting in Viridian. Leora frowned. "What is happening?" Thalor's 6 eyes widened. "It seems someone attempted sabotage, Your Highness. A small explosion occurred near the outer halls." No one is injured yet, but before Thaler could finish, Alex had already moved. Calmly, he walked toward the source of the disturbance. Leora followed, a mix of worry and curiosity on her face. When they arrived, the explosion had damaged a few ornamental pillars, but the palace's anti-gravity systems had prevented any structural collapse. Alex crouched near the debris, examining it quickly. His fingers traced the markings on the shattered metal, noting the precise mechanism used to trigger the blast. "This was meant to distract us," he said softly, almost to himself. "But it's poorly executed." Without any tools, Alex manipulated a small panel on the pillar, resetting the security systems to prevent another blast. The Viridian guards looked on in awe, unsure how a human could fix what their advanced technology could not. Leora watched silently, her heart skipping a beat.
"Alex, how did you—"
He smiled lightly. "I just looked. Sometimes it's easier to see what is wrong than to guess." The Viridian court soon arrived, curious about the commotion. Alex stepped back, blending in with the crowd as if nothing had happened. The court whispered among themselves, some impressed, some skeptical. Leora, however, understood the truth. Her husband was not ordinary, not by a long shot. As the night wore on, the festival continued. Music echoed through the palace halls, and alien fireworks lit the sky in dazzling colors. Leora and Alex moved among the guests, sharing smiles and quiet conversation. No one suspected that the seemingly harmless human beside the princess had already prevented disaster. Later, when the palace quieted and the last guests left, Leora and Alex stood alone on the balcony. The twin suns were setting, casting long golden shadows over the floating city. Leora turned to him, her eyes searching. "Alex," she said softly, "you seem so ordinary, so harmless, but tonight, I saw something else, something I cannot yet explain." Alex looked at her, his eyes calm and steady. "Sometimes being harmless is the best disguise. It allows you to see things others cannot. That is a human skill, one your people underestimate." Leora smiled, a mixture of admiration and curiosity. "Then I suppose I married someone far more remarkable than I realized." Alex chuckled. "Perhaps. But remarkable or not, I will always protect you and your people. That is all that matters." The night deepened and the palace settled into quiet. Leora stood beside Alex, feeling a sense of peace. She thought she had married a harmless human. Little did she know this was only the beginning. The galaxy had yet to see the true power of humanity. The morning sun rose over Viridia, casting soft amber light across the floating city. The palace glittered in the dawn, its towers and bridges reflecting the glow like liquid gold. Princess Leora walked along the palace gardens, her long blue hair swaying gently as she absorbed the calm beauty of her world. But the calm was only surface deep. The events of the previous night, the sabotage, Alex's quiet intervention, were still on her mind. "Your Highness," said Thaler, hurrying to her side, his 6 eyes blinking nervously. "There are reports from the outer districts, some tensions among the citizens. It seems the human's arrival still unsettles them." Leora sighed. "Of course. Many still doubt Alex despite everything he has done. But I trust him. That is what matters." Thaler nodded, still uneasy. "Yes, Princess. But others in the court, they are impatient. Some want to test him to see if he truly is harmless." Leora frowned. "Then let them test him. I have faith. Humans may appear ordinary, but they are far more capable than most expect." She thought of Alex, calm and composed even when faced with sabotage. She had seen a spark in him, a subtle strength that the Viridians had failed to recognize. Meanwhile, Alex moved quietly through the palace corridors. He had spent the night reviewing the sabotage incident, observing the court's reactions and noting areas where the palace's security could be improved. He did not move with urgency. His human calm was both reassuring and frustrating to the Viridians, who preferred grand gestures and visible action. He paused before a security panel, studying the alien interface. The system was advanced far beyond human technology, or so the Viridians thought. But Alex's mind worked differently. He saw patterns and connections others missed. With a few calculated adjustments, he strengthened the palace defenses without drawing attention. The subtle improvements would prevent further sabotage, but to anyone watching, it would appear as if the systems had simply repaired themselves. By mid-morning, Leora and Alex were walking together through the Viridian forests surrounding the palace. Bioluminescent flowers glowed gently along the paths, and strange floating creatures hovered in the air. Curious but harmless, Leora noticed Alex moving with ease among the alien flora. "Careful," she warned, pointing to a vine that hung low across the path. "Some of these plants can sense touch and react defensively." Alex smiled lightly. "Noted." He reached forward and gently parted the vine, which recoiled slightly. To the untrained eye, it seemed normal. But Leora noticed something strange. Alex had adjusted his movements in subtle ways, his body predicting how the plant would react before it even did. "Impressive," she murmured. You understand them differently." Almost instinctively, Alex shrugged. "I observe patterns. I notice reactions. It's not instinct." "Not really. Just careful attention." Leora's admiration grew. The humans were underestimated for a reason. Their small size, their apparent fragility, and their lack of flashy powers led other species to dismiss them. But humans were clever, adaptable, and persistent. Alex embodied all these traits. As they walked, they came across a small clearing where Viridian scientists were conducting experiments with alien machinery. Some devices hummed with energy, others emitted strange colors and patterns. One machine, a delicate levitation device, had malfunctioned and was spinning out of control, threatening to injure the nearby researchers. "Step back," Alex said calmly. Without hesitation, he approached the device. His hands moved in precise gestures, pressing and twisting components with a confidence that seemed almost magical. The machine gradually slowed, then stabilized. The Viridian scientists blinked in astonishment. "How?" one whispered. He fixed it without the proper interface?" Alex looked at them, smiling faintly. "Sometimes a fresh perspective is all that is needed." Leora's eyes widened. "Alex, you didn't even touch the interface properly, yet it worked perfectly." "Humans are adaptable," he said simply. "We find solutions in ways others might not expect." The whispers among the scientists grew louder. Leora noticed their admiration mixed with disbelief. The court had underestimated humans, and now they were beginning to see why that was a mistake. Later, Leora and Alex returned to the palace. The court had gathered for a political meeting, one meant to test Alex's diplomatic skills. Certain Viridian nobles were openly skeptical, some even hostile, questioning why the princess would marry a human. "Captain Mercer," one elder began, his voice sharp, "can a human truly understand Viridian politics? Can you represent your species in a galaxy of complex alliances?" Alex's expression remained calm. "I do not claim to understand everything immediately, but I am observant. I listen, I learn quickly, and I make decisions based on facts, not assumptions," the court murmured. They had expected hesitation, perhaps even failure. Instead, Alex spoke with a quiet confidence that was impossible to ignore. A discussion followed about a trade disagreement with a neighboring planet. Viridian diplomats argued endlessly, unable to reach consensus. Alex listened, asking a few key questions, then suggested a compromise that balanced both sides' interests. The room went silent. The suggestion was simple, elegant, and effective. After a moment, one of the most skeptical nobles stood and nodded. "Perhaps humans are more capable than we imagined." Leora's heart swelled with pride. She had known Alex was extraordinary, but even she had not expected his abilities to shine so clearly in the political arena. As the meeting ended, a messenger arrived with troubling news. Scouts had detected unusual activity near Viridia's orbit, a fleet of unknown ships approaching rapidly. The Viridians panicked, fearing an immediate attack. Leora turned to Alex, her eyes wide. This could be dangerous. They could destroy the city before we even know their intent." Alex remained calm, his gaze steady. "We will assess the situation first. Panic rarely helps. We need information before action." He moved to the observation deck, studying the approaching fleet. Using a combination of Viridian data and his own analysis, he quickly predicted the likely path and behavior of the alien ships. His calculations were fast, precise, and seemingly intuitive. Leora watched in awe. You calculate all of this in seconds? Humans truly are different." Alex smiled faintly. "Different, yes, but that difference can be useful, especially when others underestimate us." The council debated whether to attack or negotiate. Viridians were cautious, relying on their technology and strength. Alex suggested a more creative approach, a small delegation to communicate, gather information, and, if necessary, neutralize the threat without full-scale conflict. The council hesitated, unsure if they could trust a human's judgment over their own centuries of experience. Leora stepped forward. I trust him, and if I trust him, then you should consider doing the same. Reluctantly, the council agreed. Alex prepared the delegation, carefully selecting team members and outlining strategies that relied on observation, adaptability, and human ingenuity rather than brute force. As night fell over Viridia, Leora walked with Alex once more. The sky glowed with the light of distant stars, and the palace floated silently above the forests. You make it all seem so easy, Leora said softly, dealing with politics, technology, even threats. How do you do it? Alex looked at her, calm and steady. I do not try to impress anyone. I observe, I think, and I act when needed. Others may underestimate humans, but that is to our advantage. We are clever, adaptable, unpredictable, and that makes us strong. Leora's admiration deepened. She had thought she married a harmless human. But Alex's calm intelligence, his ability to solve problems, and his quiet strength told her something else. Humans were extraordinary in ways the galaxy did not yet understand. That night, as the twin moons of Viridia rose over the palace, Leora realized that her life and the future of her people had changed. She had married someone she thought was ordinary, but the galaxy had not yet seen the full extent of her human husband's power. The quiet of Viridia's morning was broken by an urgent alarm. The palace shimmered under the light of twin suns, but the sense of calm that had defined the previous days vanished in an instant. Reports poured in from the observation decks. A fleet of unknown ships was approaching Viridia at high speed. Unlike anything the Viridians had encountered before, these vessels moved with precise formation and silent intent. Princess Leora's golden eyes widened as she turned to Alex, who stood calmly among the palace council. His presence seemed almost unnatural. While the aliens panicked, he remained composed, observing, calculating, and waiting. What do they want? Leora asked, her voice tense. Alex shook his head slightly. We don't know yet. But rushing into defense without understanding them could be disastrous. Let's assess first. The Viridian Council erupted in debate. Some wanted to fire the orbital cannons immediately. Others suggested negotiating from a distance. But all proposals were rooted in traditional methods, strong displays of technology, overwhelming force, and reliance on centuries of defensive strategy. Alex stepped forward, his calm demeanor commanding attention. Your traditional tactics assume their behavior will mirror yours. That is dangerous. Humans rely on observation and adaptability, not just brute force. Let me approach this differently. Whispers filled the room. A human commanding a Viridian council. Some doubted his experience. Others began to feel uneasy under his quiet authority. Leora, however, nodded. I trust him, she said firmly. If I trust him, so should you. With the council's reluctant agreement, Alex assembled a small delegation of skilled pilots, engineers, and diplomats. Their mission was simple: intercept the fleet, communicate, and if necessary, neutralize the threat without provoking full-scale war. As the delegation prepared, Leora joined Alex on the observation deck. She watched him study the approaching ships, noting the speed, formation, and emission patterns. Alex, you seem to understand them already, she said, awe in her voice. How can you know so much so quickly? He smiled faintly. Humans have a habit of noticing details others overlook. Every pattern, every hesitation, every small movement tells a story. If you pay attention, you can predict their next step. The fleet drew closer, revealing its size and firepower. The Viridians' orbital defenses were formidable, but Alex noted weaknesses that others had overlooked. Gaps in formation, predictable rotations, and over-reliance on energy shields. He turned to the team. We cannot attack blindly. We need intelligence first. Our strength lies in speed, coordination, and improvisation. Follow my lead and trust your instincts as much as your instruments. The delegation launched in sleek ships designed for diplomacy and light combat. As they neared the alien fleet, Alex maintained calm, issuing precise instructions that the Viridian pilots followed without hesitation. Suddenly, a smaller group of enemy ships broke from the main formation, attempting to flank the delegation. The Viridian pilots froze, unsure how to respond. Don't panic, Alex instructed. Use your environment. Exploit their assumptions. They think you will follow standard maneuvers, so don't. With a combination of quick thinking and human intuition, Alex directed the pilots in unpredictable loops and evasive patterns. The enemy ships, expecting rigid tactics, became disoriented. One vessel collided with another in a spectacular, though non-lethal, accident. Leora, observing from the palace, could barely comprehend what she was seeing. The human she had thought harmless was turning the battle in their favor with strategy and improvisation alone. As the fleet adjusted, Alex initiated communication. Using alien translators and gestures that the Viridians had never employed, he conveyed peaceful intent, while subtly warning of human resilience and preparedness. His tone was calm but firm, a message of both diplomacy and strength. The alien commanders, unfamiliar with human tactics, hesitated. Alex anticipated their hesitation. He had studied their fleet movements and predicted their likely response. Hesitation would lead to confusion, giving him a chance to exploit their weaknesses. "Prepare for Maneuver Delta," Alex instructed the delegation. "It looks like a retreat, but it's an observation tactic. Let them underestimate us. They always underestimate humans." The delegation executed flawlessly. The alien fleet misinterpreted the move as fear, becoming overconfident. That moment of arrogance was all Alex needed. Using precise targeting, the delegation disabled critical engines on several enemy ships without destroying lives, showcasing human skill and restraint. Back on the observation deck, Leora's eyes were wide with awe. "Alex, you're incredible. You predicted everything before it happened. How do you do it?" Alex turned to her, his face calm but serious. "Observation, logic, and adaptability. Humans survive because we adapt. We think differently. Other species rely on strength, tradition, or rules. We rely on flexibility and creativity. That is our power." By mid-afternoon, the alien fleet had withdrawn, confused and cautious. They had underestimated humans, and the lessons were costly, not in lives but in respect. The Viridians' council stared in disbelief, realizing that the human they had dismissed as harmless had saved the planet from potential destruction. Leora moved to Alex, placing her hand on his arm. I never knew humans could be like this. You are extraordinary." Alex smiled faintly, almost modestly. "Extraordinary, perhaps. But it is not about me. It is about thinking, observing, and acting when needed. Humans have survived in the galaxy not because we are the strongest, but because we adapt." The council members were silent, some nodding in reluctant acknowledgement. The Viridians' perception of humans was shifting before their very eyes. Where they had once seen fragility, they now glimpsed strength, cunning, and resilience. Later that evening, as the sky over Viridia turned violet with the twin moons rising, Leora and Alex walked through the quiet palace gardens. The air was filled with soft luminescence from the bioluminescent plants, and the floating creatures moved gently among the flowers. "You didn't have to show them your skill," Leora said softly. "You could have stayed hidden." Alex shook his head. "They needed to see it. Not to glorify humans, but to survive. The galaxy will judge us by our actions, not by appearances. If humans are underestimated, we must use it wisely." Leora's admiration deepened. She had thought she married a harmless human. But Alex's calm intelligence, his ability to improvise under pressure, and his strategic brilliance told her something else. Humans were extraordinary in ways the galaxy did not yet understand. Over the next few days, the Viridians attempted to analyze Alex's methods. Scientists and strategists studied his tactics, trying to replicate them with their own technology. But no matter how they tried, they could not predict every move the way Alex did. His brilliance was not just in knowledge, it was in adaptability, creativity, and the ability to see patterns others missed. Meanwhile, Leora observed quietly. She realized that her people's underestimation of humans was a mistake. Humans were not fragile. They were clever, resourceful, and unpredictable, and unpredictability was a weapon in itself. One evening, as the palace settled into quiet, Leora stood on the balcony with Alex. The twin moons reflected in her golden eyes as she turned to him. "You are unlike anyone I have ever known," she said softly. "I thought I married a harmless human, but now I understand. Humans are more than we imagined, and you are proof of that." Alex looked at her calm and composed. "I do not seek to prove anything. I only act when needed. That is what humans do. We survive, we adapt, and sometimes we surprise the galaxy. Leora smiled, a mixture of pride and amazement in her expression. Then I suppose I am fortunate. I married someone the galaxy has underestimated, and I get to witness it firsthand. As the night deepened over Viridia, the palace quieted, but Leora knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had yet to see the full extent of human power, and Alex Mercer, her human husband, was only just beginning to show it. Viridia's twin suns cast their golden light across the floating city, but that light did little to calm the rising tension. The reports were coming in fast. The alien war fleet had returned, larger and more organized than before. This time there would be no hesitation. Princess Leora's heart raced as she walked to the council chamber, where alarms flashed and advisors shouted in a panic. She could feel the fear in the room, a stark contrast to Alex, who stood calm, observing, calculating. "They are coming," one general shouted. "This time we cannot hold them off with diplomacy. They will destroy us." Alex's voice cut through the chaos, steady and firm. "Panic will not help. Strategy will. We will meet them on our terms, not theirs. Prepare the defenses, but trust me when I say we do not fight like the Viridians expect." Whispers filled the room. The council had witnessed Alex's skill before, but the scale of this attack was unprecedented. Could a human truly protect an entire planet from a full-scale assault? Leora placed a hand on Alex's arm. "Alex, are you sure?" He looked at her, calm and confident. "I have never been more certain. Trust humans, Princess. We fight differently, and that difference is our strength." The city braced itself. The alien fleet emerged from the outer orbit, hundreds of ships in perfect formation, weapons primed. The Viridian orbital defenses fired immediately, but Alex quickly directed the countermeasures. "Focus on their formation weaknesses," he ordered. "Divide their attention. Force them to predict, then act unpredictably. Humans use creativity in every move. Use theirs against them." The Viridian fleet, usually confident in their strength, followed Alex's directions. To their surprise, his unconventional strategies worked. They lured groups of enemy ships into traps, using gravity fields and orbital debris to slow and confuse the attackers. From the palace observation deck, Leora watched in awe. Alex's mind worked like a chess master, predicting moves several steps ahead. The humans' adaptability, their ability to improvise, and Alex's leadership transformed chaos into coordinated defense. Suddenly, a large enemy vessel broke through the defensive perimeter and fired directly at the city. Alarms blared and the Viridian generals shouted. Alex, however, remained calm. "Target their engines, not their hulls," he instructed. "We neutralize without unnecessary destruction. Focused strikes, precise and efficient. Humans do not waste effort. We act with purpose." The delegation executed flawlessly. Energy beams struck the enemy engines, immobilizing the vessel while keeping the rest of the fleet intact. The Viridians stared in shock. A human not only defended the city but did so with precision and restraint. Meanwhile, Alex moved among the defenders, his calm presence inspiring confidence. He coordinated squads of pilots, engineers, and ground troops, each action carefully calculated. His unconventional methods, decisions based on observation, improvisation, and human intuition, contrasted sharply with the rigid tactics of the Viridians. Leora followed, trying to keep up, amazed at how naturally Alex commanded attention. He doesn't raise his voice, he doesn't intimidate. Yet they follow him without question, she thought. In the skies above, Alex executed maneuvers that seemed impossible. He used the alien environment, the shifting gravity fields, floating islands, and energy currents to his advantage, positioning forces where the enemy least expected. Alien commanders were forced to adapt to moves they could not predict, revealing human ingenuity in its purest form. The battle raged for hours. The Viridian fleet, under Alex's guidance, fought with a precision and adaptability they had never experienced. The alien attackers began to falter, their confidence shaken. For the first time, they faced a force that did not behave as expected. On the ground, Leora witnessed another facet of Alex's brilliance. He coordinated evacuation routes, ensured civilians were safe, and used minimal resources to maximum effect. Unlike the Viridians, who relied on advanced technology alone, Alex's humans relied on thinking, improvisation, and teamwork. "You are incredible," Leora whispered. I never imagined humans could do this." Alex glanced at her, still calm amidst chaos. Humans survive by thinking differently. We adapt, we innovate. That unpredictability is our strength. The climax of the battle arrived when the alien flagship attempted a decisive strike against Viridia's core defenses. Alex analyzed its approach and gave clear, concise instructions to intercept. His strategy relied not on brute force but on anticipation, positioning, and creative exploitation of enemy weaknesses. The Viridian forces followed his commands, and the alien flagship was forced into a trap of their own making. Their weapons were neutralized, their movement restricted, and their morale shattered. The remaining fleet, witnessing the failure of their leader, began a retreat. Silence fell over Viridia's skies. Smoke and energy trails marked the remnants of the conflict, but the city stood intact. Leora looked at Alex, awe and pride shining in her eyes. You saved them. All of them. And without unnecessary destruction. Alex remained composed. We did what needed to be done. Humans do not rely on fear or force alone. We think, adapt, and act with purpose. Others may underestimate us, but that is our advantage. The Council of Viridia, previously skeptical, approached Alex. Their faces were a mixture of disbelief and newfound respect. One elder spoke carefully. Captain Mercer, we underestimated your species. You are extraordinary. Alex nodded humbly. I do not seek glory. I act to protect, to survive, and to ensure the future. That is all humans ask of themselves. Later, as the city recovered, Leora walked with Alex through the quiet streets. Buildings shimmered with repair energy, and citizens cautiously ventured out, whispering about the human who had saved their world. You were amazing, Leora said softly. Not just clever, but calm, decisive, unlike anything I have ever seen. Alex looked at her, calm but warm. Humans are often underestimated. That underestimation allows us to act freely, to solve problems creatively. That is why we survive, why we thrive. The galaxy expects fragility, and we deliver resilience instead. Leora smiled, her admiration deeper than ever. I thought I married a harmless human. But you are so much more. The galaxy has yet to see the true extent of what humans can do. Alex's expression softened. Perhaps. But for now, we protect what matters. Today, we saved Viridia. Tomorrow, who knows what challenges may come. But humans will face them, as we always do. Adaptable, determined, and unpredictable. As night fell, the twin moons reflected over the floating city. Leora stood beside Alex on the balcony watching the stars. The battle had ended, but she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would remember this day, not as a victory of technology or tradition, but as a demonstration of human ingenuity and power. The morning after the battle dawned quietly over Viridia. The twin suns reflected on the floating city's towers, painting them in gold and violet. The city was alive with activity. Repairs were underway, civilians cautiously ventured out, and the palace was filled with advisors, generals, and scientists, many of whom were still in awe of the human who had saved their world. Princess Leora walked through the palace halls, her golden eyes alert. Her mind was busy piecing together everything that had happened. Alex, her husband, had faced the alien fleet with calm intelligence, strategic brilliance, and human ingenuity. He had not just protected Viridia, he had changed the way her people thought about humans forever. Your Highness, Thaler said, bowing deeply, the Council wishes to meet with you. They want to formally acknowledge Captain Mercer's contribution. Leora smiled faintly. Good. Let them see the truth. In the council chamber, the Viridian leaders were gathered. Their faces were a mix of respect, awe, and lingering disbelief. They had watched Alex's unconventional strategies, his precise decision-making, and the way he inspired both humans and Viridians to act as one. They could no longer deny it. This human was extraordinary. Leora stood at the front beside Alex and addressed the council. The events of the past days have proven something important. Captain Alex Mercer, my husband, has protected this planet, its people, and its allies through his skill, intelligence, and adaptability. His actions have saved lives without unnecessary destruction. This demonstrates qualities that Viridians have long underestimated in humans: ingenuity, resilience, and unpredictability. A murmur ran through the council. Some leaders nodded slowly, finally seeing the truth they had ignored. One elder, previously skeptical, stepped forward. It is remarkable. Humans are not what we thought. Captain Mercer, your skill, your calmness, your strategy, It surpasses anything we have seen in generations. Alex bowed slightly. I acted not for recognition, but for survival and protection. Humans succeed not because we are strongest, but because we adapt, observe, and act with purpose. That is our strength. Leora turned to him, her eyes shining. I knew humans were underestimated, but seeing your abilities in action, it is more than I ever imagined. You are extraordinary, Alex, and so is your species. The council remained silent for a moment, absorbing her words. Slowly, they began to discuss the implications. Humans were no longer considered fragile. The galaxy would have to reconsider its assumptions about them. Alex's calm, intelligent, and adaptive approach had proven humans could stand alongside, or even surpass, more technologically advanced species. Meanwhile, in the palace gardens, Leora and Alex walked together. The air was filled with the soft glow of bioluminescent plants, and the floating creatures moved gently among the flowers. Citizens passed by, some stopping to bow in respect. Whispers spread through the city. The human saved Viridia. The human is remarkable. You truly changed how your people see humans, Leora said softly. They may never fully understand your abilities, but they will respect them. Alex smiled. Respect is earned through action. Humans survive because we adapt and act creatively. Others may underestimate us, but that is their mistake, and sometimes that mistake becomes our advantage. Leora nodded. And you are living proof. I thought I married a harmless human. Now I see that humans are extraordinary, and you are more than I ever imagined. Alex glanced at her, calm but warm. I do not seek to prove anything beyond survival and protection. But humans are resilient, resourceful, and unpredictable. That is enough to survive, to thrive, and to inspire. Over the next weeks, Viridia began to recover. The alien fleet had retreated, but their presence remained a warning. Alex assisted the Council in developing strategies for defense that relied not just on Viridian technology, but also on human adaptability and creativity. He taught the Viridians to think differently, to anticipate moves, and to improvise solutions rather than rely solely on brute force. Citizens gradually regained confidence. Stories of Alex's calm intelligence and creative problem-solving spread throughout the city. Children whispered about the human who had saved their world, while scientists marveled at his methods and sought to understand his reasoning. One evening, as the palace quieted, Leora and Alex stood on the balcony overlooking the forests. The twin moons reflected in the water below, casting soft silver light across the glowing landscape. You changed everything, Leora said softly. Not just for Viridia, but for humans in the galaxy. They will never be underestimated again. Alex nodded. Perhaps. But humans never needed recognition to survive. We succeed because we adapt, we think, and we act when necessary. Others may notice us now, but our strength has always been within us. Leora's admiration deepened. She had married someone she thought harmless, a human who seemed ordinary. But Alex had proven that humans were extraordinary in ways the galaxy had yet to understand. In the council chamber, the Viridian leaders formally acknowledged Alex's contribution. Leora spoke with pride. Captain Mercer has not only protected our planet but has taught us a valuable lesson. Humans are resourceful, intelligent, and adaptable. We must no longer underestimate them. Alex accepted their recognition with humility, emphasizing the importance of observation, teamwork, and creative thinking. Humans thrive not because we overpower others, but because we adapt and innovate. That is the lesson of this conflict. The Council nodded, finally understanding. The galaxy had been wrong to underestimate humans. Their ingenuity, resilience, and unpredictability were weapons in themselves, and Alex Mercer had proven that in action. Later, Leora and Alex walked through the palace halls, now quiet after the Council's acknowledgement. Guards and servants gave them respectful nods, and scientists whispered about Alex's methods. Leora turned to him, her eyes bright with admiration. You were always calm, always observant, yet you commanded respect without demanding it.
How do you do that?
Alex smiled faintly. Humans act not for recognition, but for necessity. We think, adapt, and act. Others respect results, not effort. Calmness and observation are tools to achieve what is needed. That is how humans survive. Leora reached for his hand. I thought I married a harmless human. Now I see that humans are extraordinary, and you are living proof. Alex looked at her, his calm demeanor softening. Perhaps. But the galaxy has yet to see the full potential of humans. Today we saved Viridia, tomorrow, who knows what challenges may come. But humans will meet them as we always have, with ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. As night fell over Viridia, the palace shimmered in the light of twin moons and distant stars. Citizens whispered of the human who had saved their planet, and the Viridian Council began to implement new strategies influenced by Alex's methods. Leora stood beside Alex on the balcony, gazing at the glowing forests below. The battle had ended, but the galaxy had begun to see a new truth. Humans were not fragile, ordinary, or weak. Humans were clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. And Alex Mercer, her husband, had shown them all. In the quiet of the night, Leora finally understood what she had married. Not a harmless human, but a being of extraordinary intelligence, adaptability, and courage. She smiled, a mixture of pride and awe in her heart. The galaxy had learned a lesson, one it would not soon forget. Humans could be underestimated, but their true strength lay in creativity, adaptability, and the ability to act decisively in moments of need. And in Alex Mercer, the galaxy had witnessed the perfect example of human potential. Viridia had been saved, the council had been enlightened, and the citizens had been inspired. But more importantly, Leora had seen the truth. She had married a human whose abilities surpassed imagination, whose calm intelligence commanded respect, and whose presence would forever change the galaxy's view of humanity.